All right, so I was talking about the mental structure of consciousness and its spatialization of everything. And I'm going to read an example of that from Gebser's book. The form of mathematics in Newton's Principles of Natural Philosophy, published in 1687, permits calculation with infinitely small variable quantities. These quantities, which Newton called fluents, and their rates of change, which he defined as fluxions, are merely mathematical quantities. These quantities, known today as differentials and differential quotients, render causal processes measurable by mathematically fragmenting intensities. These spatialized quantities of intensity, because of their categorical manipulation of the spatial structure of Occidental or Western consciousness, will continue to exert a negative effect until we clearly recognize this rational falsification. So the falsification is this projection of these uh, quantities and digits. We digitize everything and break it up into these discrete symbols, and then we view the world through that lens. And the symbols themselves are a beautiful structure, and they line up to the world out there in some way. They don't measure something that isn't occurring. They just miss a lot. Because one thing about the rational structure of consciousness is it says all of the other structures are wrong. And not only are they wrong, we don't even know if they really even exist. So if you even talk about them, you're just not using language correctly. I'm going to quote again about the mental level of consciousness. The mental structure of consciousness was compelled to realize the reality of space and devote itself exclusively to space and its dimensions. From this arose, moreover, the momentous interlinking of space with matter, whereby matter limits and secures space. This will also make comprehensible the erroneous rational development, in other words, the mental development, which led to the materialism and mechanization to which latter generations have paid homage. As a result of its systematization, the three-dimensional consciousness of the mental structure rigidified the material phenomena of space. We know ever since Einstein that energy and mass/matter are equivalent, indeed identical. Their difference is merely one of their transient form of manifestation. Integral consciousness, therefore, comprehends the ever-latent presence of the incalculable time-energy component in the measurable space-matter state. It is the expression of our recognition of the mutability of all phenomena to which no systematization can do justice. This integrating of phenomena frees us in the diaphany of a-waring, or perceiving truth from space and time. So Gebser talks about Einstein as being the first physicist to start incorporating this integral consciousness into our scientific theories of the physical world. And so, whereas Newton only paid attention to space, and therefore developed this calculus that reduced the intensities or the energies of space and matter into a quantity, Einstein was aware of the fact that we needed to take time into consideration here, and time is really energy in this E equals mc squared equation. Um, because if energy and mass or matter are equal, and if mass and matter I mean, that's all space too. There's no matter without space, and space and matter are two sides of the same coin. Energy is equal to everything that we can see in the world, but energy itself is unseen. Energy is time. Energy is change. Energy is creativity, and we can't ever systematize an inherently creative happening. And this is where the integral stage comes in. And I mean, to describe what this whole book is really just describing what the integral stage would look like and feel like and taste like. And to do that, he has to really rework the whole language of our cultural history, and it takes a lot of words to do that. So the integral stage is really this coming to reckon with, or this reckoning of creativity. And creativity is origin. In creativity, origin is present. Creativity is not bound to space and time, and its truest effect can be found in mutation, the course of which is not continuous in time, but rather spontaneous, acausal, and discontinuous. Creativity is a visibly emerging impulse of origin, which is, in turn, timeless. Or more accurately, before or above time and timelessness. And creativity is something that happens to us, that fully affects or fulfills itself through us. All of this makes it suspect to any and all rationalists, for creativity reveals the limitations of understanding and places every form of anthropocentrism into question. Creativity appears to be an irrational process, although it is actually irrational. It cannot be adequately circumscribed by a strictly psychological interpretation. Through creativity, preconscious origin becomes the conscious present. It is the most direct, although rarest process of integration, and, even when realized for only the span of fractions of a second, can never be lost. Anybody that's ever had a mystical experience, or a unity experience, or a spiritual experience, not like seeing, I'm not talking about having a vision of some religious icons or hallucinations. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about, like, for me, just usually I'm just out in nature, and it just happens. You feel at one with the world around you. And, the wind blows through the trees, and you feel yourself as the leaves and the wind, and you resonate with that, and you become the birds singing around you, and you feel the sun shining through you, and you realize your relationship to everything. That's origin. And integral consciousness is the ability to have access to that. Doesn't mean you're overcome by that sort of mystical state of rapture all the time. It just means it's there. Like Gebser said, even when realized for only the span of fractions of a second, it can never be lost. And that's key, because, once you've had an experience like this, it was so real at the time, more real than anything you've ever experienced before or after, that you now, no matter how much time passes, you remember it as that is reality. And I cannot doubt that. I had a direct experience of something that I now know. I know it. I know it's there. I can't say what, I can. I could talk about it all day, and the only problem is, when I do that, I run the danger of contradicting someone else who also had what I think on the experiential level was identical, but they're going to disagree with my descriptions. Because once you start talking about stuff, inevitably you mix it up, and you make connotations that you didn't necessarily mean to make, because you don't really even know what other people are going